One of my mentees this week asked me, how do I find a HMO? I was like, yeah, I mean, where'd you start? There's a lot that needs to go into this. You want to do HMOs, you've picked your location because location is really, really important. That should be quite a thorough decision-making process with a lot of data driving that. Now, things that I'm looking for. So this is a hack for like quick looking, get in there and find some stuff quickly. If you were to watch a few episodes ago, in actual fact, I can probably dig it out and put in the comment section. We actually do location analysis. So we'll get a spreadsheet. We'll take in all of the reality of what we need to know from a HMO perspective in terms of market improvements, how many people are looking, i.e. saturation, pound per square foot, yield against pound per square foot. We do all this matter of research in 10, maybe 20 locations. So this is kind of the next step. And I just wanted to show you how we quickly find them because my mentee kind of knows where he wants to operate. He said he's stacking loads of deals but they're not working. So I thought I'd show you my little hack of how to find them. Pick Surrey just as a random place. So you obviously want to click properties that are for sale. This step is once you've picked your location, how to find a HMO. It's a little bit of a top tip and actually how quickly you can find HMOs if you use this technique. I'm going to re-share a different tab. You will see Rightmove. I don't know why, but I selected Reigate. One, because I didn't want to do any areas that we operate in, just in case I found a worldie and then you guys got good ideas, and just because it's a place that's fairly local. So I know it fairly well. So if you're listening and you want to do HMOs, you've picked your location because location is really, really important. That should be quite a thorough decision-making process with a lot of data driving that. And we've shared that before. Now, to take this step further, I'm actually going to click the next search because it gives me more options to filter in here than it did on that previous one. So essentially, we're not going to be buying multi-million pound houses and converting them to HMOs in Reigate purely because that would never work. Weirdly, I can see that Reigate's sort of central hub is obviously around Reigate here. I kind of don't feel that a HMO down in this location, if you can see my cursor, would be a great idea. So essentially, I want to restrict this sort of location. So what I'm going to actually do is maybe have a look where I could get maybe something a little bit more refined. I actually kind of feel that the initial radius was best. So simple search, this is what we do. Get minimum of 3 beds because realistically, if it's a 2-bed property, it's probably not going to be a good HMO. I'm going to remove new homes, retirement homes, buying schemes, and I'm going to leave auction properties because I like auction properties. So it's basically removing what I believe is the sort of 3, obviously you can't do a part ownership nonsense. You don't want to do a retirement HMO because they don't exist. And you ideally probably don't want to be buying a new build home. Now, next thing I do.
Sorry to interrupt, but our YouTube statistics are staggering. 80% of you people viewing are not subscribed to our channel, yet 50% of watch time has been from non-subscribers, which means clearly there's lots of value being created, but you're not subscribing. So if this is you, you're not subscribed to our channel, but you tune in regularly to watch our content, please consider subscribing down below. We release one video every week and I guarantee it will help you grow your business. See you on the next one.
Is lowest price first. I also quite like oldest listed, but let's just run with lowest first. Now, things that I'm looking for. So this is a hack for like quick looking, get in there and find some stuff quickly. Now, what I like to look for is in Reigate, you might have, obviously Reigate is like screaming out like Surrey. You've got ex-council properties in probably suburbs. You've got some nice semi-detached houses. That actually looks really cheap for Reigate. You've probably got shitty old bungalows and then you've got some more semis. Typically, annoyingly, this is probably quite a bad example because what I like looking at is you'll normally get an array of terraced houses in locations that I operate in, certainly. And a lot of these terraced houses aren't actually wide enough to create a HMO. I can't see an example here, but what I mean by wide enough is you get the standard front entrance. It's probably 3.5 to 4 meters wide, and you can't really get the access into the building to get additional rooms on the ground floor, first floor and second floor, and maybe even loft. So I kind of discount those non-wide ones straight away. Obviously, the beauty of looking in Surrey is a lot of them are actually wider terraced houses. So these might work. So I'm going to open up one of those. What you will also see is there's actually a lot of similar properties. A lot of these are the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this property because I'm going to set a rule of thumb. I'm going to have a look at the floor plan and see if I think it would work. And I can already tell you no. So really quickly, you obviously need windows for bedrooms. You also need an adequate kitchen living space to accommodate for shared living. This has got a really low pitched roof, so you're not going to be able to do a loft conversion. The only way that this is going to be a HMO is if you do a single story rear extension. And I kind of think that you're probably getting into price cost expenditure that won't warrant the GDV value at the tail end. So let's just humor ourselves. One bedroom up here, another bedroom here. You might be able to pinch some of this bedroom here to create a third bedroom on this landing. So that's 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. You're only going to get 1 bedroom on this ground floor unless you extend it out the rear. So let's say 2 if you do extend it. That's only a 5 bed. And I think the capital expenditure you're going to put into doing this doesn't warrant that value. So already poo-poo, that's a no. So I can then go back to my search and I can discount most of these properties like this. You will get some anomalies, maybe ones that have already been extended or already, got space for X, Y, and Z, but that makes life a lot quicker and easier to analyze these HMOs. So now let's move on to potentially some bigger things like this particular property. I like the look of it. It looks like a 1930s property. And again, you're kind of setting a rule of thumb for yourself. So you might see a lot of these types of properties that are potentially convertible. Now, one huge benefit you can see of this property is it could be extended to the side. It's obviously really disgusting and old internally. And actually this view is quite good. So you could see how you could potentially extend this to the side. Maybe there's precedent and you can have a look around. I would also assume that you could probably do a loft conversion. When I say assume, I know you can because this bugger next door has already done one. So lovely stuff. Set precedent. Very good. So now looking at the exact floor plan, it's quite small. It's only 886 square feet. But what I'm looking at is divisible bedrooms. It's a bit squarer than the last property we were looking at. So I like to see that. And it's probably got a little bit more scope. But again, we're only looking at 5 bedrooms. So problemo. You're probably going to struggle to generate the value because you've got to push out and do a bit of new build to essentially see if you can, convert this into a 6-bedroom HMO. I kind of believe that if you're not getting over 5 beds, you're probably going to struggle to get the reval up on that. Easy loft conversion on this one. You could do a large strip dormer around the back. You could even potentially do one on the side. That loft conversion, if you've got a main contractor on site in Surrey, may cost you about 40 grand, but you probably get it back, high pound per square foot values. So what are we looking at here? We've got 3 bedrooms on this landing, maybe 2 separate bathrooms. They're already kind of catered for that. If you split it into 2 shower rooms, I'd probably remove this wall to make a kitchen living space. Obviously have this as a bedroom with an ensuite downstairs, and then maybe you'll get 2 in the loft. So they bish bash bosh, 6-bedroom HMO. I like the style. That is potentially a goer. Another things that I like looking for, one is apartments. A lot of people don't like looking at apartments. Obviously, you have to have a look at the head lease. But I often find some really large apartments, like 3 beds like these ones, might actually be valued as a 2-bed. So good ones to look at. Also, your construction costs are really low because you're not doing anything structural. It's all on one foot plate. Even though it might be under 5 bedrooms, you might get a really good income off the back of that. So looking at this particular one, it looks like it doesn't need a lot of work at all, showing you the insides here. But that might make, if you could really push the boundaries, you might be able to squeeze another bedroom in here. You've obviously got to think about fire and access, which is a really important one. You've got to make sure you've got a 30-minute protection route for all tenants to exit in HMOs. We do that regardless whether it's a licensable HMO or not. But yeah, don't discount flats. I do quite like flats. Everything I was just discussing is about this floor plan. Yeah, not a bad flat, really large space, 1,000 square feet. We've actually got 5-bedroom houses that are actually 1,000 square feet. So huge flat and definitely scope to potentially do that. But again, check the head lease because you might be restricted to do things like that. Now, other things that we really like looking at is houses with terrible gardens or terrible access like parking are really good things to be looking at. So that's another example of compromised properties. But essentially, use your head. You could obviously do a really nice single-story side extension on this. Looks like it's potentially got scope to have a loft conversion. And then just looking at the floor plans, a bit of a weird layout, the rear of the kitchen. It obviously doesn't have ideal garden access. But again, looking at that floor plan, which is really important. So just a bit of a round robin of what we look for as far as HMO properties go. If there's some top tips to take away, skinny terrace houses, you might struggle. If it's already got a loft conversion, that's really, really, really good because it's saving you some capital expenditure that might not already be realized in the property value. I would also say that properties with terrible gardens are really good because families will pay less for those. Therefore, the market value for those properties is typically compromised. We've actually got some fairly modern townhouses like this one that's on the screen at the moment. We find that they're huge. We've actually got a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom and only spent about 60k on the conversion. So these ones can work quite well. You've obviously got to look at the values. And I would say that obviously garages that can be converted quite easily are pretty good. And the way that we convert garages and HMO conversions is we convert the garage first. We normally get consent for that and don't put our details on the application. We normally put the planning consultant or the architects. And then what we do is we then go for the change of use use C3 to C4. So you're not drawing attention to C4 change of use until you've delivered the planning on the garage. Another little hack there for you guys. What other top tips have we got on these types of properties? I think that's pretty much it. So loft conversion is good, compromised gardens good. Here's an example of a terraced house. So when you're looking at terraced houses, I always like looking at the thickness, and I can already tell this one's not as thin as average ones. This would actually make a really good HMO. Really small garden. Seems quite expensive though, but you can actually see from those floor plans, your build costs are not going to be eye-wateringly high. You'll probably actually do quite well to deliver that as potentially a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom.
If you got value from this video, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell, because we release one video at least every week, so be the first to get notified. See you on the next one.